are now listening to the Fantasy Standard Podcast on Talkdown TV with P and Ryan.
Welcome to the Fantasy Standard Podcast. This is P alongside Ryan. And if you're watching, it means you're on YouTube, and we kindly ask that you drop a like and hit that subscribe button. If you're listening, it means you're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Audio Boom, and all other podcast platforms. We also kindly ask that you hit that subscribe button and leave a review.
Yo, what up, dog?
Week 3 is among us.
Facts.
Are you ready to leave week 2 behind?
Yeah.
I wanted to start this episode because we have a lot of good content. So I kind of want to, just for the sake of time, I want to get into some injuries because I feel like that's really important to note, especially on a show, right? When you want to set up your lineup. I know when we do this episode, it's Wednesday. We're releasing it on Thursday, so maybe even more injury reports have come out. But I just wanted to note some key injuries that were out last week that affected a lot of owners and even affected a specific transaction that happened in our league. But Christian McCaffrey, is probably the biggest name for fantasy.
Yeah, for sure. Him, Saquon.
Mm-hmm.
I think those are the two biggest guys. They were 1 and 2 overall in most fantasy drafts.
Yeah. You got Devontae Adams. That's probably another one that maybe week to week. Jimmy Garoppolo. The Niners lost 2 linemen, Raheem Mostert and Coleman, Cortland Sutton. You have Drew Lock, Paris Campbell. You have a George Kittle is still out, right?
Yeah. That's a lot of names.
Yeah, you have Michael Thomas. So these are guys that you're drafting pretty much in the first 3 rounds. Kenny Golladay, Chris Godwin, A.J. Brown. You got all of these guys that have missed games, that have been banged up. And if they've played banged up. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about injuries and how important it is to maybe when you're a fantasy manager, consider depth. Or consider if I saw somewhere today that someone said when you're 0-2, it's time for you to maybe take a piece that is worth something and maybe splitting it into 2 good pieces that can help you.
Yeah.
Right. And then when you're an owner that's maybe 2-0, you can probably afford to wait for a player to get healthy.
Yeah. I think we talked about this earlier before the season started, that you prepare for the worst, especially going into the season. You were expecting a lot of injuries, a lot of people being not, I don't want to say in shape, but not in game ready. Condition.
Yeah.
So these hamstring injuries, a lot of this is the most probably MCL, ACL injuries I've seen in a while.
Yeah.
A lot. It sucks for the players, man. But again, if you prepared, then you're ready. If you're one of those owners that doesn't have any depth on their teams and you're losing these guys, then shame on you.
Yeah, and I mean, you have some unforeseen circumstances with a stadium, MetLife.
Yeah.
There's some controversy there with the turf there. One side says there's nothing wrong. The other side says, look, we just lost 5 players. The reason that was prompted also is because I saw on Twitter a trade that a fantasy trade that went along before we get into and the trade was, a person was asking, is this a good trade? He was giving away Kittle. He was 0-2. He was giving away Kittle, Miles Sanders, and a wide receiver. I forget what his name is. And then he was getting back Gardner Minshew and Ridley. And as much as I like Ridley,
that's a lot.
I felt like at 0-2, he can still hold on a little bit.
Yeah. Well, the guy who was 0-2 was getting Ridley.
Yeah, exactly. But he's giving away Miles Sanders and Kittle.
I mean, he's gotten 1 week from both of those guys, so he's probably a little salty. You're giving up a pretty much first and third round pick. And again, all this stuff, this doesn't matter after the season starts.
Yeah, I guess the draft.
I'm talking about value wise. Like Miles Sanders just turned up week 2. I guess you're selling high maybe on him. You don't believe in the whole Philly offense. I don't know. It's just and giving up a running back. That sounds desperate.
I agree. My advice was, you hold on to studs like that, especially this early. They still have enough value with their names alone that if you have to maybe revisit a trade in 2 weeks, that trade will probably still be on the table.
Yeah, it's not like they've been bad because they've been healthy. They Kittle did decent his first game, and Miles Sanders when he came back was Miles Sanders. So I
Yeah.
don't understand the worry.
I think the caveat is here: how long is Kittle going to be banged up, and how long is Miles Sanders dealing with anything? Right. So,
Yeah.
those are risks you take, though. Let's go over to the recap of how we did. Now that we have 2 weeks in, I feel like now we're building a little steam and showing, that we're pretty decent at this.
Sometimes we get a little lucky.
Yeah. Hey, you have to have some of that too. So week 1, we went 10-6. Week 2, we went 13-3 and 12-4 respectively, which is good. I like that.
Yeah. Overall the season I'm 22-10, you're 23-9. So we're right there, way above 500, 12 and 13 games above 500. So, or 14 games for you. So that's a really good start.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you want to pick with us in the comment section below after the game, after we make our picks, let us know which picks you agree with or make your own picks. And you can keep score yourself if you want to email it to us and let us know as the season progresses. We'll see. We'll compare.
Maybe we'll shout you out on the next episode.
I'm totally down for that. Are you ready to get into some new games?
Let's get it. Let's talk some dang football.
Right. So Thursday night, we have the Battle of Florida. So we have Miami going up against Jacksonville. What's the line here?
So right now they got it over under 48, and then they got the Jacksonville Jaguars favored by 3. In my opinion, that's a pretty high over under for a game of these two teams. Usually on a normal season, it'd probably be around like 42, 41. And especially being on Thursday, they're giving these teams a little bit more respect. So I kind of like that.
I'm gonna give you, Jacksonville, right? Let's look at Jacksonville here for a second. They've played both of the games they've been in, right? They won the second game, obviously, right?
Yeah. They lost. No, they beat the Colts in the first game.
Beat the Colts and lost exactly, but it was a close game to a really good Tennessee team.
Yeah, they lost by a field goal. Look, this is why it's hard for me to doubt Jacksonville going forward. 2 weeks, I'm convinced. I know I said it after week 1. I still need to see Minshew do something, but man, he's doing something. If you've watched him play and you don't think he's not impressive right now, then we're not watching the same games.
Yeah, we're not watching the same games because he's very impressive and efficient, and he protects the ball. Those interceptions aside, I think maybe one of them wasn't his fault.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, he's still making a couple of bonehead plays, trying to be a hero. He turns that back. I think Jacksonville is getting better.
Yeah, they're a good team.
They're a lot better than I thought they were going to be. Let's just say that.
Yeah. Minshew with 115 quarterback rating. I really like that. Let's talk about your boy Robinson. He leads the team in carries. He leads the team in yards with 32 and 164, 5.12 yards per carry, which you love to see that, right? And then one more person I have here. I want to sneak in Keelan Cole.
I knew that's what you were gonna say.
But I have another one. But Keelan Cole, he leads the team in catches. And he's second in yards. So you don't really expect that when you look at the stat sheet, or when you're opening the stat sheet for Jacksonville. You think DJ Chark, right? But he's probably more of a safety blanket. And another person, Laviska Shenault, second in rushes with 7 and third in receiving, second in targets on the team. So they are working him in.
Yeah, I was watching the matchup recap on that, and just to check up on my boy James Robinson, but Laviska Shenault was definitely getting carries out the backfield. He looks really good, man. He looks really good. James Robinson looks good. Keelan Cole keeps getting these. Nobody expects him to score TDs. The one this past week, it was on a scramble play by Minshew, and he caught him in the back of the end zone. Minshew is keeping these plays alive, man. He's like a baby Roethlisberger out there.
Yeah.
A little bit more athletic, but he just has that fight which we saw a little bit of his rookie season.
Yeah, these defenses, they're nothing to scare anyone.
Yeah.
And it could be maybe because it's still early, because I still think there's a lot of talent in Miami. Maybe they're a little banged up, and Jacksonville has young talent. So it's just a matter of how
is
long.
There any in Miami besides Fitzpatrick that you're like, okay, I want to see what they do?
In Miami, I have, man, I have two players that I like, but it's kind of like they butt heads against each other. But I'm gonna give you Myles Gaskin.
Yeah.
I really like watching Myles Gaskin play, and when he gets the ball, and he's getting the ball a lot. So who's leading the backfield, right? When you look at everybody that's there, they signed Breida, they signed Howard, and they already had Gaskin from last year. But when it's surprising when you go and look at the touches to see that Gaskin is probably the preferred back in that team.
Yeah, he's getting a lot of touches. Devontae Parker got worked back in last week.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people thought he was going to be slowed down by his hamstring, but he had like 8 or 9 targets, had a touchdown. I think he's only going to keep getting better. I mean, they've had some tough matchups. When you play the Patriots and the Bills back to back, those are two of the best corners in the game. Even if they're not sticking him, they're still on the field. So I think it'll ease up for him a little bit more.
Yeah.
So who you looking for? Who you liking in this game to pick?
Hey, I looked at the defenses. I like the offense, and when you get lost in the numbers, you tend to forget that there are wild cards like Ryan Fitzpatrick that are playing in this game. and with Fitzmagic, you really don't know what can happen. Clash of Florida, he'll probably bring out the glasses, the chain, the whole nine. I feel like Fitz is going to make a difference and win this game in the end in a close game.
Yeah, no, I like it. For me, I'm going with Jacksonville. The rookie they drafted, the cornerback, his name is slipping my mind right now, but
not Christian Fulton.
No, it's slipping my mind.
Tennessee.
They got a corner.
Is he even?
The kid from Florida.
Is he even playing?
Yeah, he's playing.
Okay.
I think he had his first pick last week.
DJ Henderson, something like that.
Yeah, something Henderson.
Yeah.
He's been looking pretty good. And again, the same reason you're going with Fitzpatrick, I'm gonna go with Minshew, man. And not only that, because I feel like the Dolphins are allowing way more than the Jags are allowing.
Wait, hold on. Is Minshew Mania and Fitzmagic, are those the same thing secretly?
Yeah, one's just older than the other.
Is this like the changing of the guard game?
Word up.
So you want to go to the next game? Let's head over to Las Vegas. Battle in New England. This is going to be a great game. In the beginning of the season, you don't know that this is actually going to be a good game, especially the way Las Vegas looked against New Orleans. So what's the line here? So
right now they have it at over under 47, and they got the Patriots favored by 5.5. It's those lines when they're in the middle between 3 and 7 always confuse me, because it's like they're not good enough to be 6.5, 7, but they're not bad enough to be 3.5, 3. So that kind of tells me that Vegas is not even sure what they want to do. They're giving the Raiders a lot of chance here.
Yeah. What players stand out?
Cam Newton, man. For one reason specifically is that the Raiders are
Before you go, right? I have a player written down here. The first name I have written down is Cam Newton.
Yeah, Cam Newton's going to destroy the Raiders. I'm sorry.
I agree with you.
They have given up the 4th most fantasy points to running backs, and I don't care what you say. The Patriots starting running back is Cam Newton.
He is.
He has, in the first 2 games, 9 rushes inside the 10-yard line so far. 9. I think that's more than any single running back in the NFL.
Yeah.
So I'm looking for him to capitalize and take advantage of the Raiders. The Raiders kept the Saints close, and they had Drew Brees at quarterback, who's slowly but surely falling apart. And if it wasn't for Kamara, they probably should have got blown out more. But I think the Patriots, with a better defense, looking to shut down Waller, it should be a good game, but I like New England a lot. What are you looking at?
I would agree with you if I didn't watch that game against the Saints. And maybe it's a little misleading, because is it because Drew Brees is not quite the player he was? because that could also be it. But I think Las Vegas is actually a really good team, and they're only getting better because they're young. I think I wanted to give you a running back in this game, or a player in this game. 26 carries, 122 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Who is that?
Josh Jacobs.
That's Cam Newton.
Yeah. So, he's the best running back.
So it supports your running back. Like, he is an RB1 when and against the Seahawks, he proved that he can throw in this offense. I wanted to highlight 2 players on New England. Julian Edelman and N'Keal Harry. Now, N'Keal Harry didn't really have a good rookie season. And I don't think he's having a great year, but he's having a productive fantasy year. So 13 catches for each. Julian Edelman with 236 yards, N'Keal Harry with 111 yards, and both of them with 18 targets.
Yeah.
So if you feel like you need, if you have the Patriots receivers, you feel better seeing them perform against that. But it was the Seahawks, so we'll see. So what else are you looking at in this game?
I just want to see, because as good as people say the Patriots secondary is, they've been getting lit up the last couple of weeks. They're giving up the 5th most fantasy points to wide receivers, but in that same breath, they're shutting tight ends down. So the Raiders' best receiver is their tight end. My thing is, are they going to keep them close or set them out wide and have them go against these guys? I don't know who's going to guard Henry Ruggs, because it's definitely not going to be your boy over there. He can't guard anybody deep. And I can see Ruggs just pulling off.
You're talking about Stephon Gilmore?
Yeah, if he's going to be matched, I don't think he's going to lock on anybody. They might try to double team Waller a lot and take him out the game. But if Derek Carr gets one and builds enough arm strength to get it over their heads, I can see Ruggs catching a big one here.
I think that Bill Belichick is going to do this. And if he does it and if he's successful with it, it's going to be a tough day for the Raiders. I think Bill Belichick is going to put Gilmore against Waller.
Yeah.
Waller has 24 targets on this team. I don't even think. That's 15 more than the next player. 18 catches, 148 yards, and a touchdown. You like seeing that. But Ruggs is third on the team with 8 targets. So are they? Hopefully they can game plan him in a little bit more, because, I don't know if that's sustainable for Waller, and maybe for injury purposes.
Yeah.
You need I think it pays to have somebody else step up on that offense. So I'm glad you mentioned Ruggs, because he's a player to watch in this matchup.
Yeah, it's too much speed. New England always has trouble with speed guys. Tyreek Hill, to name a few, because that's the only one that's coming to my head right now. But who you taking though? With all that being said. I we both did, but I decided to choose New England. I think that in the end, you mentioned it, you opened with it, and I'm gonna close my statement with it. I don't think that the Patriots intend on allowing Las Vegas to possess the ball that much. Yep. So what that means is they're just going to run the ball. They're going to go back to what they did week 1. Yep, and they're going to take away the Raiders' best weapon, which is Waller, and they're going to force somebody else to beat them. If the Raiders can somehow find a way to do that, I can see them maybe winning, but I'm going to just take the best educated guess and say that the Patriots take this one.
If you're a Josh Jacobs owner, in this game, you hope to run into a touchdown.
Yeah.
Because Josh Jacobs is averaging 3.48 yards per carry this year. You love his production, but you just you temper the ceiling expectations.
Yeah, I agree. Cool. Let's jump into this next one.
Get to the next one. The next one is my favorite one. Obviously, this is always going to be my favorite, but we have the 2-0 Rams going up against the 2-0 Buffalo Bills.
Hey,
what's the line?
Battle undefeated.
Let's go.
We got an over under 47, and the Bills are favored by 2 points right now.
Can you believe that?
I do believe it. It's a little. They're home too. I just don't. It's again, this is the same thing that I was saying before with the 5.5. It's like they don't trust them enough to be over 3, but they believe that they should win this game, so that's why they're giving them the 2 points.
Yeah, I think so. I think they have no idea who's going to win this game.
Yeah,
these teams both have looked good, and both of these teams have won in different fashion. On the Buffalo side, you know who I'm going to highlight. I'm going to highlight Josh Allen. 70% completion percentage. I mentioned that first because no one thought that it can happen. It's still 2 weeks. Now it's when it gets real, right? 729 yards passing and 6 touchdowns, 0 interceptions this year. So this is a tough test. Last time Josh Allen played against Jalen Ramsey. Jalen Ramsey was on the Jaguars, and he was saying that Josh Allen is, I forgot what the quote was, but he basically disregarded Josh Allen's game or his progression. And Josh Allen actually played that game and beat the Jaguars, and it was like a big thing. His stat line wasn't pretty, but he won the game.
Yeah, I remember that. He said it in like an interview or something. I don't remember specifically what it was.
And I think that he did go up against Ramsey. He might have broken a tackle or something like that because he was running crazy against him.
Yeah.
So this is the I guess the rematch to that, because now Ramsey is humble about it.
Yeah.
So what other players are you looking at?
In my opinion, I still think he doesn't respect them. So, but again, within the first 2 games, just to throw some numbers out here, the Rams have given up the 3rd least fantasy points to wide receivers. So temper those expectations for Stephon Diggs. Exactly. He has been killing it, but I can see a big battle between him and Jalen Ramsey. It should be fun to watch. But again, the way Josh Allen is throwing the ball, man, I can see John Brown, Beasley getting involved a lot more, and beating these other the cornerbacks that the Rams have, because they get abused sometimes.
Listen to this man. He's dropping some gems. If you have a John Brown, if you have a Cole Beasley, they 10 catches, 9 catches each.
You're going to start Stephon Diggs no matter what this week, but this is one that you temper expectations. Yeah. And you're not upset if he gives you 9 or 8. You just hope he doesn't give you like 2 or 3.
Exactly. He gives you a good, hard-working floor, right? Like a 65 yards, 75 yards. You take that in this matchup.
You start him because he's one of the top 5 receivers in targets so far with 22. Right, same amount as Ridley, to be completely honest, and you'd think it'd be a lot less, but they're right on net. Yeah, on par to be at the top of the leaders with targets so far.
Yeah, I mean, but look, and if you're thinking about Beasley and Brown, and you talk about targets, Brown 16 targets this year, Beasley 13 targets this year.
Yeah, they might be a sneaky flex play if you're desperate at wide receiver. I don't know about DFS because there's so many better options.
Yeah, and Beasley PPR, I think for sure Beasley PPR.
Cool. Who are you taking here though?
Let me go with the Rams real quick, because I do think that the formula that the Rams are using, I wonder if this is a game that's more of a challenge for them, considering the games that they've played. Who's going to start? Is Brown healthy? Is he going to start? Is it going to be just Henderson? So that's something to note. The 2 receivers that they use, the 3 top, because Higbee, you can put him between Woods and Kupp. Who is Tre'Davious White going to take away? Yeah. Right? Because if it's Woods normally is more of like the guy that they move around now. But who's Trey White on? And then the secondary of the Bills, can they recover and bounce back from what the Dolphins did the week before? Because Fitz was picking them apart, mostly because of the linebackers. Yeah. So that said, my pick is on my Buffalo Bills. I don't know if Goff has faced a defense like the Bills this year.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And because of that, I have enough faith in the Bills offense to do just enough against the defense to beat the Rams.
Yeah, this is one of the first tough matchups for the Bills this year. I'm gonna take the Bills. I just believe in their quarterback more. Jared Goff is still fluky to me, and I think the Bills come out this week and really show people that they're not playing around.
Yeah, I think you always say it too. I think people are always under the assumption that this is your same Rams from 2 years ago.
Yeah, this isn't your Super Bowl Rams. Gurley's gone. The defense is not the same. The running back, these receivers, they lost Brandon Cooks. Cooper Kupp's looking a little average. Robert Woods been killing it. So I think they're going to try to key in and stop Robert Woods and see what Cooper Kupp might have a big game because they're going to try to stop Robert Woods.
Yeah. Yeah, underneath stuff. Milano and Edmonds, if they play, you don't like Higbee as much. If they don't play, DFS everywhere. Plug them in.
Yeah, facts. Facts. Cool. Let's jump into this next one.
Let's go to the next one. The next one is an 0-2 Houston team going to Pittsburgh to face Big Ben, who's sitting there at 2-0. What's the line?
So right now they got it over under at 44.5, and the Pittsburgh Steelers are favored by 3.5, which is a little low in my opinion. I would be expecting like 6.5, closer to 7. I just don't see what they see in Houston. I don't get it.
They played Baltimore pretty tough last week.
Did they?
Yeah, they played them pretty tough. It doesn't reflect in the score, but I felt like, and I think if you look at it, they actually did play him pretty tough. Even if you look at Lamar's numbers, they made him look. The run defense, I mean, it's leaky, same as it was week 1. So that's a trend.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, everybody had their best game. Gus the Bus had his best game. I mean, it's only the second game, but, you know, Ingram was looking like he was washed week 1.
Yeah. For me, it's just the Houston Texans have allowed 33 and 34 points the last 2 weeks against 2 of the best offenses in the NFL. I can see the Steelers coming in and doing the same exact thing. They're going to have to find a way to beat the Steelers because their defense has been amazing. Against running backs, they've given up the 4th least amount of fantasy points. So David Johnson owners, simmer down this week. He might give you the same thing he gave you last week when they played the Ravens. I'm not expecting any more than 10 points unless he falls into the end zone.
Well, and let me fit this in. Pittsburgh is one of 3 teams that hasn't allowed a rushing touchdown yet.
There you go, to prove my point. And I really do like Big Ben against this team.
Yeah.
Passing wise, he's been all over the place. Since 2017, Ben Roethlisberger has attempted at least 29 passes in all of the 27 games he has played since then. So he hasn't thrown less than 29 passes since 2017.
I wonder what those numbers are at home.
Yeah, probably above 30.
For sure. That's got to be 35. I'll put the over-under at 35.
Yeah. I feel like Vegas is disrespecting. I don't know, man. I can see this being another blowout. Houston, they have one of the toughest schedules to start the year.
Yeah.
Looking up with their games coming up after they play Pittsburgh, they have Minnesota, which is so-and-so, but Jacksonville, and then they got Tennessee and Green Bay. The way Jacksonville's looking, shoot.
Yeah, Jacksonville looks like they're going to be in a dogfight every step of the way.
Yeah, I'm not going to get cute here. My pick, I'm going with the Steelers. They've been rolling. I can see them going to 3-0 here and keep it going.
For me, on the Texans side, if you look at the Texans, I think David Johnson played like a 97% of the time. He was split out wide. He had a lot of work. And you know, you like the attempts. You like the fact that he's getting involved. But I don't know, against Pittsburgh, in the passing game, you hope that David Johnson gets a lot of checkdowns. And it is very well possible with this Steelers team. On the wide receiver side, still, who is going to take over as the number 1 receiver? Will Fuller is banged up. Is he not? I have a name for you, and his name is Brandon Cooks, and it's not because I own him in fantasy. Who leads that team in targets? Do you know?
The Texans?
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming Brandon Cooks.
And the reason I broke it that way is because who would have known after week 1?
Yeah.
Because he barely played that first game. So that tells you that he's trending in the right direction. So something to note, even in DFS, if you play DFS. But this isn't DFS. This is a fantasy football. So my pick, and I'm gonna. I don't think we've disagreed once. My pick is Pittsburgh. I like Pittsburgh winning this one, and I want Pittsburgh to, or I expect Pittsburgh to impose their will running the ball too.
Facts. Cool. Let's jump into the next one.
The next game is the San Francisco 49ers going up against the New York Giants. And this is, the med unit from San Francisco is coming into town. I don't think anybody wants to play on that turf. What's the line?
And rightfully so. They only have the over-under at 40.5, and they got the Niners favored by 3.5, which is the most disrespectful thing I've seen. For being in the Super Bowl last year to being favored 3.5 against the Giants, man, things change fast.
That's because, and that's most likely because of the injury situation.
Yeah. You definitely made it a point to say that, but for sure, I still like what the Giants have been competitive, so you can't put it against them. But
yeah,
hey, this might be a shocker, and if the Giants upset these guys, I wouldn't be surprised. But I'm not believing that.
On the Niners, on the Niners side, I feel like we don't know who's starting right now. It's okay. So right now it's being said that it's Mullins, right?
Yeah.
So Mullins is starting, and Jimmy G is not going to start. I tell you, I don't think that's much of a downgrade personally.
I think it's an upgrade.
I think that's an upgrade. On that side, you lose 2 running backs last week, so now you have to go with McKinnon and Wilson Jr. McKinnon, popular waiver ad, right? You think that how many touches do you think he has this year?
It's a lot.
How many touches do you think?
I don't know.
Let's say per game.
Off
how
the top
many?
of my head, it's 20 plus.
You have
like 14.
Okay, so McKinnon has 9 touches
Total. Holy shoot.
You see? So when you hear reports that Wilson Jr. might get more work than people anticipate, maybe you believe that, or maybe that's just.
I can see Wilson jumping right into what Mostert was.
Or another role, like maybe the Tevin Coleman role.
Yeah. Man,
but let's see what because I'm it's not to say that we don't like McKinnon.
Yeah.
But it's just to see what Shanahan is going to do, because I'm not sure if he's going to overexpose him either.
Look, the way the Giants have been looking, they're not even top 5 in fantasy points allowed to running backs, which is crazy. They might just be outside of it.
Mm-hmm.
But the last 2 games, they gave up 113 rushing yards to Snell. And last week, they gave up 127 total yards and a touchdown to Montgomery. So I can see McKinnon and Wilson both eating in this game, and I would not be shocked.
I wouldn't be either. That's good stats. One thing to note, Mullins with Kendrick Bourne. There's a bromance there. Kendrick Bourne, I think in one game has already caught up with the team lead in targets and second in catches. Something to know.
And Mullins does love targeting his tight end, so maybe if Kittle does sit, Jordan Reed is a good play, but I wouldn't go chasing points.
Yeah.
49ers and the Giants are both top 5 in least fantasy points allowed to tight end, so I'd be the Giants, if they do anything well, it's cover the tight end. So yeah. I expect Reed to do well, but he ain't giving you 2 touchdowns and those yards like he did last week. So.
No, and on the Giants real quick, Jones, you got to clean it up. You can't throw 3 picks. You can't. He has 3 picks so far, 74 quarterback rating. Who is the running back over there now? Is it Deion Lewis? Is it Gallman?
Yeah, tryouts this week.
Is it Freeman? That's exactly what it is. Are you gonna?
Is this still preseason?
Are you signing up?
Hell no, I'm taking the 49ers, and I'm not even blinking an eye. Sorry, as banged up as they are, I'm still taking them.
I'm taking the Niners. Okay. The next one is Tennessee going up against Minnesota. I don't think this was gonna be too pretty. What's the line?
So right now it's at a very high over under 48.5, which is surprising to me. Mm-hmm. And the Tennessee Titans are favored by 2.5, which again, the way the Vikings have been playing, is it that they don't trust the Titans or that the Vikings might have a resurgence at home? Because this line should be like 5.5, in my opinion.
Is Minnesota's defense regressing? That's the question here.
Yeah, losing that guy on the line, that's a fast way to regress.
Yeah, and Anthony Barr on the IR, one of their best linebackers. Wide receiver 2, who is it? Right? Who's their second wide receiver on that team?
Yeah.
Because BC Johnson, I don't think he's working out.
No.
And you can't really use Dalvin Cook. You can't really have a running game if you're constantly behind.
Facts.
And that's what's happening to Minnesota. And
I agree.
and this is the worst week for you to possibly play Tennessee. I think Tennessee sees this as a chance to say, okay, Ryan Tannehill has shown off. He's shown that he's gonna do what he did last year. We have good receivers. Corey Davis had his. Jonnu Smith had his last week, right?
Yeah.
At some point, it's got to be Derrick Henry's turn.
Yeah. I mean, the Vikings are second worst against wide receiver fantasy point wise.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they're trying to correct that going into week 3. Go looking at the film and be like, damn, we can't guard receivers. Let's try to lock down, and maybe that does open the gates for Henry. A surprise for me here is the Titans are 5th worst against tight ends. So Kyle Rudolph and what's the other tight end there? I can't. His name's slipping my mind.
Smith.
Yeah, they might be a little sneaky players this week. I never recommend starting tight ends on the Vikings, but if you're that desperate and you're in like 16-team leagues, this might be somebody that you can attack.
Minnesota has allowed the 5th most passing yards and the 5th most rushing yards.
Yeah, I'm excited for Derrick Henry.
so
I'm waiting for that first touchdown still.
So if you're a Derrick Henry owner, make sure that you mark that game because you're gonna like that one.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep it. You got anything else?
No. How about you?
Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm taking the Titans here, man. I feel like the line is they're being disrespected right now. I can see them winning by a field goal. That's why they have it at 2.5. So barely covering. I'm taking the Titans here.
Yeah. I don't have much to talk about on the Minnesota side, to be honest. I wish I did. What happened to the offensive line? What happened to the defensive line?
Expect Dalvin Cook to do what he does on a weekly basis, man. As long as they keep giving him touches, Dalvin Cook's gonna he's game script. It don't matter what it is. He's gonna get.
And they're starved for corners over there, man.
Yeah.
Starved for corners. So the next game is the Washington football team going up against the Cleveland Browns. And this is a weird one. What's the line?
So right now it's at 44 over under, and they got the Browns favored by 7. See, this is the stuff that shocked me. They got the Titans favored by 2.5, but then they give the Browns a 7-point advantage over the Washington football team. Almost said their old name there. I can see this being a duel of quarterbacks because they both suck against quarterbacks as far as fantasy points go. They're both 4th and 5th. You saw what Joe Burrow did last week against the Browns. I wouldn't be shocked if Haskins probably has one of his best games of the year here. McLaurin might be a good play this week for sure. He's always a start, but even more so this week. The guy that I'm worried about most after having a great week last week is Nick Chubb, because the Washington football team is 3rd best against fantasy points allowed to running backs. So Kareem Hunt owners and Nick Chubb owners, I don't know who it's going to be this week, but it won't be both again.
Yeah. So pick one.
Yeah.
And it might not be either of them.
Yep.
That
front 7 is whatever it is, front 7, I guess, linebackers, and so they're really good.
Yeah, that is front 7. You really you check to see what OBJ is gonna do. I guess that's like a norm when you do these matchups. Maybe not even here. You know what? We don't check to see what OBJ does, I guess, because he had his best game last week, right? Yeah. So does this mean that are we gonna get finally that Baker OBJ connection that everybody's been talking about?
I don't think so. I think that was more of a fluff game, if anything. Everybody, that was just a hard, let's feel good about ourselves type of game.
Yeah.
If anything, I could see a lot of people started Logan Thomas for the Washington last week, and he kind of let them down. I could see him coming back this week if you stick with him one more week, because the Browns are 2nd worst against tight ends as far as fantasy points go. So this might be a week where if you stick to your guns and you trust them one more week, I'm telling you, Haskins might have over 250 yards passing, and that is saying a lot.
Who
you taking here?
I'm taking Cleveland. I'm not sure if Haskins going to be able to do that.
No, yeah. I mean, I have Cleveland as well. I'm saying it's going to be
against this Cleveland team. I don't think Haskins could do that.
No. I see this being just like how they played the Bengals last week. They'll win by a touchdown, but it'll be like a 24-31 type of game where both teams are scoring. No real defense is being played.
I think Cleveland's going to actually play pretty good defense, and so is Washington. I think it's going to be one of those where it's just going to be, I'm going to try to outrun you.
Yeah.
I think that's what's the Washington football team is going to use all 17 of their running backs, and then including McLaurin, they're going to throw him back there to do a jet sweep, and then the Browns are going to use Hunt and Chubb, and that's what they're going to do, and they're going to play action off of that to OBJ and Landry. That's why I like the Browns. I feel like they're home. I'm going to give it to them. I'm going to take the team with the better quarterback, dude. Between Baker and
I mean, we're picking from pennies here at this point, but I completely agree with you. I'm taking the Browns as well. Not even.
Let's just move it. Keep it moving.
Let's go to the next game.
The next game is actually an interesting game to pick, and this is going to be an interesting game to watch. Cincinnati Bengals and Joe Burrow going up against Carson Wentz and the Philadelphia Eagles. What's the line?
So right now it's at 46 over under, and they got the Eagles favored by 4.5. I'm going to tell you towards the end why I am picking the Eagles, and it's the only reason because, to be completely honest, the Bengals have been low-key nice against quarterbacks. They've allowed the fourth least amount of fantasy points to quarterbacks, and this is in 6-point passing touchdown leagues. And on the flip side, they've allowed the most or the second most fantasy points to running backs. So Miles Sanders week is happening.
You think this is it right here?
You think he did well last week, over 30 this weekend? That's one of the main reasons why I do like Philadelphia this week. On the Cincinnati side, let's see what Joe Burrow does again. He's pissed off. He's tired of losing. Let's see if that maybe lights a fire under him. What are you looking at?
I like the way Cincinnati looked. Joe Burrow, I actually finally saw what the hype was about. Not that I didn't buy into it, but I get it.
Yeah.
Because the way that he played, normally a rookie on a Thursday night where you know everyone's watching, even if there are no fans in the stands, still some grown men trying to kill you, right? So when you look at the way he walked, the way he just, it didn't look like it bothered him. And you like to see that on a young quarterback. Yeah.
And not to cut you off, as much as the Eagles have struggled, and they are 0-2 right now, they have been pretty good against wide receivers. So I'm not expecting much from the passing game in this from Cincinnati.
Because you still have Slay.
Yeah, so, I mean, they're fourth best against wide receivers fantasy point-wise, so that says something. They might suck against the run, but I don't see I see Philadelphia just handing the ball off. Carson Wentz has nobody to throw to. He's going to throw it to Miles Sanders. He's going to hand it off to Miles Sanders. That's all that's going to happen this week.
Yeah, I can't see the Bengals running at all against the Eagles.
No.
And if they have any trouble passing, it is unfortunately going to be a very long day for Joe Burrow.
I see Joe Mixon having a decent game because they're going to have to force him the ball more because they're not going to be able to throw the ball on him.
Well,
so a lot of dump offs and stuff like that.
I could see that. I can see him being productive in that route.
Yeah. Yep.
But I'm not sure. I'm not sure the running numbers are going to be there.
No. Yeah. He'll probably have like 50 rushing yards, but about like 70. I wouldn't be shocked if he has over 70 receiving yards and maybe a receiving touchdown.
Hey, yes, and actually, good call. This might be Mixon's one of his best pass catching days of the year.
Yep. Agreed.
Yeah. So we both have Philly on this one, right?
Yep.
Anything else you want to add for this matchup?
Absolutely.
I had a good one, and I think this one's a good one to bring up. Cincinnati has run the most plays so far in the league.
Yeah, I'm not shocked after Joe Burrow threw 1,800 passes last week.
The one thing from an efficiency standpoint,
I had a feeling you was gonna go there. Just off of AJ Green not being efficient.
4.2 yards per play.
Wow.
You don't like that.
Yeah.
So
even the Eagles can beat that.
That's why we do this show, right?
So I'm picking the Eagles. I'm not getting cute.
No.
Cincinnati's going to have to come out and play amazing defense. Last Thursday, they looked like they couldn't tackle anybody, especially the running backs. I'm telling you, Miles Sanders in DFS, weekly fantasy, and everything. Wherever you can start Miles Sanders, you start him this week.
Buy.
Yeah, buy him. After this week, they're going to be calling him the best running back in NFL.
Oh, yeah. You'll hear it. He'll probably catch one and run one.
Yep. I like him a lot this week. All right, cool. Let's jump into this next one.
The next one is the Chicago Bears, who are 2-0, by the way, going up against the Atlanta Falcons, who just lost a heartbreaker where they didn't realize they can pick up an onside kick.
Or that they can hand the ball off and run it sometimes.
Or that they can run.
Yeah. So the over-under for this game is at 47 currently.
Mm.
They have the Falcons favored by 3. Falcons are home. Man. Falcons fan, how y'all feeling?
Normally, let's say 4 years ago, you would say Matt Ryan at home.
Yeah.
Right?
Man, this is going to be a lot of fantasy points, but not on the side that a lot of people are expecting. I'll be completely honest. Everybody is expecting Atlanta to just keep putting all these garbage points. And it's sad when you have to score points in garbage time. Nobody looks forward to garbage time unless you're playing fantasy football. Because I know they don't be in the games like, oh, man, I can't wait for the garbage time. No. The Falcons are a garbage time team. And they will struggle. Yeah, they will struggle a lot against the Bears because the Bears have one of the most underrated defenses. They allow the second least fantasy points to running backs and the 5th best against wide receivers. So, Calvin Ridley owners, I'm talking to y'all. Don't expect the 2-touchdown, 100-yard game. And if he does it this week, I know I've said it the last 2 weeks. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. But 3 times, I can't argue with him anymore. But this is going to be a tough matchup. We said it earlier. Fuller is a great cornerback. I think they're going to start to make Calvin Ridley a priority, and that's going to be horrible for his fantasy owners. I can see Russell Gage going off this game solely because of that. And Mitchell Trubisky is a great DFS play, and if you're desperate, I would plug him into my lineup, and I think some people are.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned your boy Ridley, because this is probably the one week where maybe if, the game isn't what he, it's funny because I play him against fantasy, so it's probably going to sound like it's because.
The numbers say it for itself.
The numbers are telling me.
They're giving up 17.6 points to receivers as a whole, not just one, as a whole team. 17.6.
And I'm going to give you a name that's super important to this matchup, and that's Julio Jones. I know he might not have been the same so far this year, but he's still, the name commands a lot of respect. So he's probably going up against these number ones.
Yeah.
Right now, it doesn't look like Julio's going to play. Right?
I think they're going to put him out there to be strictly a decoy, but Bears are going to be smart enough to know that we're not going to have to put our best guy on him, and they will shift over to Ridley. Another guy that I'm hoping for my fantasy team's sake finally shows up is Allen Robinson. The Falcons are giving up the 4th most fantasy points to receivers as a whole, 30.25. If Allen Robinson is going to have a breakout game this year, this should be the one. If he doesn't this week, then you should be really concerned because he's still one of the top receivers, I think top 10 in air yards, and one of the most targeted receivers in the NFL.
You want me to support that theory?
Shoot me. Give me some numbers.
So the Atlanta Falcons have allowed the 4th most yards total, right? 886 yards. Everybody knows that. 701 of those yards are passing, right? So you say, well, man, it's because people can throw on them, right? So when you look at the rushing numbers, it's 185 yards. You're like, okay, that's decent. But the yards per attempt is 3.4.
Yeah. Nah, man. A lot of people are shocked in this one. It might make me change my pick. Originally had the Atlanta Falcons in this one, but only reason I had them is because I just think they're a better offense. But man, the way I'm supporting Chicago and the way I'm expecting, they should have beat the Cowboys last week. Maybe their defense is that bad, I'm gonna change my pick here, and I'm gonna go with Chicago, man.
I'm telling you, I'm glad you came over to this side. I'm glad you came.
I'm awake now. I just woke up.
I'm glad, and it, you know, even on the defensive side, it's just you don't really like what you see, right?
Atlanta looks sloppy. Oh my lord.
Yeah, you just don't like what you see.
Cool. So you're going with the Chicago Bears as well, right?
Yeah, I'm going with the Bears on this.
Cool. Let's move on to this next game.
So the
start
next
of the 4 o'clock games here
is
we got the Jets.
The Jets going up against the Colts.
Yep.
And right now, what's the line?
So they have it at a good average 44. And wow, this is the first time I'm seeing this line. And the Colts are favored by 10.5. Holy cow. They had no respect for Sam Darnold, rightfully so. But I was talking to you about this earlier, Pete.
Mm-hmm.
The Colts quietly have one of the best defenses in the NFL. And not only in fantasy, and we can have the fantasy stats to back it up. They are top 3 in fantasy points allowed against quarterbacks. They're top 5 against running backs. And they're number 1 against tight ends. So they're out here shutting people down. They might struggle against the run, but luckily the Jets don't have any running backs. So there's nothing to worry about.
Who are you going to put up there? Frank Gore is averaging 3 yards a carry.
Yeah.
And I have something to support that argument with Indy. If you look at the total yards allowed on the team defense, 416 yards. The next closest team is the Baltimore Ravens at 600. So nearly 200 yards more.
That's funny. I told you the Colts and the Ravens are 2 of the best teams against defenses against fantasy players. Those are the guys I'm most scared to face.
Yeah, and I know that
I've never heard that number before, but it makes complete sense.
That Colts logo, it might not be as intimidating as that Ravens helmet, but the defense is for real, and they added Buckner, which might have been the piece that like took them over the top.
Yeah.
What other players are you looking at in this matchup? Are you looking at any at all on the Jets side?
No, I'm not paying attention to nobody over there. They're gonna struggle. The Colts really do have a good defense. Again, we're gonna see what Jonathan Taylor can do. Second week, last week they force-fed him the ball. They were up most of the game against the Vikings.
Mm-hmm.
I can see that happening again. Maybe they involve Hines a little bit more, just to try to keep him pressure for the whole season. So for fantasy football owners' sakes, I think giving him the ball that many times as a rookie is just something bad waiting to happen. So I wouldn't recommend it. And maybe the Colts saw that, or maybe they didn't. And they throw him out 30 times again, and maybe he can make it out this game healthy. But to go into words, Jordan Wilkins, people sleeping on him. He had 9 carries.
Yeah.
He had more carries than Nyheim Hines.
Yeah.
Hines barely saw the field.
Another thing to look at on the Colts offense is who is going to be the person that's going to take the targets, right? If
Paris Campbell's out.
Yeah, if Paris Campbell's out, then who's going to step in? They say it's Pittman.
We've liked Pittman all year.
Yeah, Mo Alley Cox last week, he started over Doyle and had 5 catches for 111 yards or something like that and a touchdown. And it's really good because Phillip Rivers likes those ex-basketball players at tight end. You expect the run to dominate here. The Jets, honestly, are the worst team in the NFL on offense, 530 yards.
Yeah, Gase ain't making it through this whole season.
If he does, he probably won't make it through this year.
No, he's not. If the Jets ownership has any brains, they cut their ties before the season ends.
Yeah. I'm looking.
He's way too far right now. I'm taking the Colts, and it's not even close.
Yeah, I'm taking the Colts. I can't.
That's probably one of the lock picks of the week.
If we had a lock of the week, that would be
survival pools. If you haven't used the Colts yet, that's probably where you use them right here.
This is where you use them. Yeah.
Cool. Let's jump into this next matchup.
The next one is could be another one if the quarterback situation was better, but Carolina going up against the Los Angeles Chargers. What's the line?
So right now they have that over under a 44, and the spread is Chargers by 6.5. I like it.
What players you got your eye on in this matchup right now?
So obviously no Christian McCaffrey, and everybody's expecting Mike Davis just to come in here and be the best running back in the NFL like Christian McCaffrey was, and it's not going to happen. I'm sorry. And specifically not going to happen against the Chargers because the Chargers have the #1 defense against running backs, only allowing 9.1 points per game. Like I said earlier, unless Mike Davis scores a touchdown, he's going to be a complete letdown for a lot of these people. And on the flip side, Joshua Kelley, Austin Ekeler, fire them bad boys up. Right behind Miles Sanders, these are my second 2 favorite running backs this week because the Panthers allow 36.5. Let me repeat that if you didn't hear it. 36.5 points per game, 2 running backs in non-PPR. That's insane.
Man, that's you just hit me with numbers.
And one more thing for you Joshua Kelley owners, I know you are 1P, and I'm not just hyping him up. He's had 3 carries inside the 10 in both week 1 and 2, and his snap share increased from week 1 from 27% to 52% in week 2. So they're trusting him as a rookie. He's sliding right into that Melvin Gordon role. For everybody who thought Ekeler was going to be this lead back, he's literally the same person as last year, and that's really good. But Joshua Kelley, a lot of people didn't expect him to be doing this so early.
When you look at these 2 teams on the stat sheet, you'd be like, oh, they have the same record. In terms of yards on offense, the Chargers are 7th and the Panthers are 9th. I mean, it's not surprising because the Panthers been getting blown out, so a lot of that is garbage. I feel like the Chargers those numbers have been competitive numbers, right? Those 841 yards have all come against good competition.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas I feel like the Panthers are the ones that are like getting destroyed, and then the team is playing soft coverage. We're blowing you out. Go ahead, get all the yards you want.
Now, a lot of people are sleeping on the Panthers, man. They're low-key could potentially compete with the Chiefs for that spot in that division. The Broncos aren't competing. And who's the other team in the AFC West?
The Raiders.
On the Raiders. It's going to be, I'm telling you, the Chargers, everybody's hyped on the Raiders. The Chargers are a team. They competed all the way down with the rookie quarterback against the Kansas City Chiefs. Came out and they beat the Bengals, who almost beat the Browns. They have a really good defense, man. They're again, I said it earlier, they give up the least amount of running backs. I can see them going out and being a really good team, man.
Yeah, and
they're smart, man. Their coach is very smart.
That defensive line is nasty. You look at the defensive numbers here, and I think from a per play perspective, the Chargers just have the better defense. And you saw what that defense did against what they did against Mahomes last week. And you know, Mahomes really got his production in the 4th quarter, right? Would you say?
Yeah, and one bright spot for the Panthers, because I know we sound like we're picking on them, but teams have run the ball so well against them that opposing quarterbacks have the least amount of fantasy points against the Carolina Panthers at 13.62, and that's in 6-point touchdown passes. So a lot of those Herbert guys, I'd be looking back and not being so excited this week because they might not even need him. They're going to be running the ball so well.
Yeah.
We saw Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow have average games.
And who's gonna start at running back for the Panthers? It's Mike Davis officially?
Yeah, Mike Davis.
Okay. Well, from the beginning, if that's probably the only time that they'll be able to run on the Chargers, because on a per attempt basis, the Chargers do give up 4.9 yards per carry, but how long is that even going to be in play for them?
Yeah.
Right?
He might be so out of the game that they can't run the ball.
Yeah, exactly. Anything else in this matchup that you want to highlight?
No, I'm taking the Chargers here, and I can't wait to see these running backs go off.
Yeah.
We always say start your running backs against the Panthers. We saw Leonard Fournette go off. Ronald Jones had a touchdown. Josh Jacobs abused them week 1. I'm telling you, Ekeler and Joshua Kelley right behind Miles Sanders. Those are going to be, I'm telling you, I wouldn't be shocked if they're both top 10 plays this week. Just like Hunt and Chubb were last week.
Yeah. And It wouldn't surprise me either. So nah, I have them. So I would love for Kelley to get some work, and it looks like he's gonna get work anyway.
Yeah.
But we both have the Chargers. We're not gonna get too cute here with this one.
Yep.
Although we do feel like Carolina has a decent offense to work with, but
their defense is trash.
yeah, exactly.
Next
Matchup is Detroit, who's 0-2, going up against Arizona. Kyler Murray, who's 2-0. What's the line?
So they have it. This is extremely high, 54.5, and the Cardinals are favored by 5.5.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
I'm sure if you're a Cardinals fan, you love to see it, right?
Yeah.
Being favored against the Lions, and the last few years, even the last year, I don't think they were favored like this. But you see Kyler Murray and the way he's playing, and Detroit, who on defense, if you look at their running, their rushing defense, and Detroit has the absolute worst run defense in the NFL. If you look at the yards, 408 yards and 6.5 yards per attempt. That is not going to get it done.
They give up the third most fantasy points at 33.6. So Kyler Murray and Drake are in for a day.
Yeah.
And on the opposite, the Lions do give up the Cardinals do give up the second least amount of fantasy points to wide receivers. So Kenny Galladay owners, I'm one of them. You can temper expectations because they're doing something really well. Despite McLaurin having a big week last week, I think a lot of it was on one play where he really broke one out. But I can see Kenny Galladay coming back and having a decent game.
And
but not Kenny Galladay.
To your point, I think that this is a Hawkinson game.
Yeah.
Unless maybe Simmons is that's why they drafted him, but I haven't seen it yet. Hawkinson is somebody that I'm thinking of right now. The running back rotation over there in Detroit. If you're looking for a fantasy relevant running back, you stash one and hope that somebody gets hurt. But
I wouldn't be shocked if Detroit does well running the ball this week because not for nothing, but the Cardinals are fifth worst against running backs in fantasy points. So I can see AP, Kerryon, Swift, like one of those guys is going to do something. Trying to figure out who it is, that's where you have the hard time. So
yeah, they have a lot of 5 points.
If they're going to be down the whole game, this looks more like Swift, a game script for him because he's always in the receiving game. And then maybe like Kerryon did last week, he'll fall into the end zone. This isn't an AP game though.
I don't think so. This is probably, like you said, a Swift game.
Yeah.
And it's probably one of those where it's a lot of catches, maybe just a lot of dump offs, and they're just going to be probably trying to play catch up because Arizona's just going to be relentless.
I'm taking Arizona. Who you going with?
Yeah, I'm going to take. I think we both swept that one. We didn't even try to get cute.
Yep, cool. Let's jump into this next one, man.
Next one is Tom Brady's going to Denver. We got Tampa Bay going to Denver. Tampa's 1-1. Denver is 0-2. What's the line?
So the over-under is at 43.5 right now, and they got the spread at Tampa Bay favored by 6.
Mm-hmm.
The Broncos lost a lot of pieces, man.
Yeah, unfortunately, you have a Sutton who went down with an ACL tear, right?
Yep.
Which is the worst kind. And then you have Drew Lock who's out with an AC joint. Is it the AC joint or is it a ligament issue?
Shoulder. I don't know exactly.
Yeah, so I think it's a rotator cuff issue. And that's 3 to 6 weeks. And Lindsey, he's out too. So you're down to Gordon at running back. Noah Fant is obviously I feel like a broken record here. But every week he seems to have he gets it this year.
Yeah.
He's playing that way. So I like the way he's playing. But man, this Denver team, you really feel for him because you feel like they were starting to put together some pieces. But on the Tampa side, if you look at that team is this is when they're going to start turning it on and gelling.
Yeah,
These
man.
are the
battling with a lot of injuries, man.
Mm-hmm.
Starting off with Von Miller, now losing your starting quarterback, now losing your starting receiver, losing Phillip Lindsay. I think there's not much I'm looking for here. I'm excited to see what Tampa Bay does on offense, but I just don't see how Denver could come out and win this game with all those injuries. I'm not even gonna spend too much time on it. I'm taking the Buccaneers and moving on. What you got?
Yeah, I think that you expect you look for the game that the Patriots. Wow, look at that. That Tampa Bay makes that statement. This could be it.
Yeah, I mean they should.
Yeah, they should.
Playing a B team.
You look at Fournette and Ronald Jones. That saga. The coach has already thrown some gas to it because he said that nothing has changed and that Fournette is basically a closer. So it's the waters are muddier, basically. So play either one at your own risk. This might be a good game though for a Fournette because I can anticipate them needing to close out this game. Yep.
He might get some stuff in garbage time.
Yeah. Let's go to the next game. We got Dallas going up against Seattle in what should be an absolute slugfest. Dallas is 1-1. Seattle is 2-0. What's the line?
So right now they have it at slugfest is correct. 55.5 over under.
Wow.
Highest of the week, and they got the Seahawks favored by 5. I'm just scared. If you're a Dak Prescott and Russell Wilson owner, God bless y'all this week. Those are probably going to be the 2 highest owned DFS quarterbacks this week. And I haven't even looked at anything yet. I know that for a fact.
That's going to be
the Seahawks allow the 3rd most fantasy points to quarterbacks at 33. The Seahawks allow the most fantasy points to wide receivers. They just love giving up points. This is why I feel like Russell Wilson is going to just have to play catch up the whole season. It's stressful. I hope he don't go too crazy. I'm expecting at least 40 from Russell Wilson. I play him this week in my fantasy football league. I'm expecting at least 40.
Yeah. The Seahawks offense is in yards. No. The Seahawks offense in yards is potent, right? If you would think that, if you look at the game last week, for instance, where they're going toe to toe with the Patriots, you're like, man, this is probably the best offense in the league. They're actually 10th in yards, and the Cowboys are number 2.
Yeah, I can see the Cowboys receivers going off in this game.
Yeah,
as much as people were so high on Michael Gallup this year, he has been supplanted by CeeDee Lamb right now. He's got more targets, he's got more yards and more touchdowns. Amari Cooper, if he can stay healthy, is another target as well. That tight end has been cooking over there since he's replaced Blake Jarwin, getting a lot of targets. This whole passing offense is looking like a start this week. They're both middle of the pack. So I don't know who to expect. You can expect Zeke to get the floor that he always gets every week. So.
Yeah. 9 touchdown passes for Russell Wilson.
Already? I didn't know he had 9. Wow, that's a shock to me. Holy crap. Is that the most in NFL?
Yes. I
didn't even know he had that many. I didn't see the passing touchdowns.
Yes.
Holy cow.
How many does Dak have?
Not that many. He only threw 1 last week. He got to have like 3.
He has 2.
2, yeah.
He has 5 rushing, which looks really good. So he has 7 total touchdowns. Russ has 10.
Man, is it me or a lot of running backs? A lot of quarterbacks scoring rushing touchdowns this year. Yeah, Kyler. I know he's got like 4. Cam, like, damn, they following the lead. Lamar Jackson, look what you did.
Yeah, but even, I mean, wasn't a Deshaun out before him, or But I get what you're saying. Like, yeah,
everybody's trying to be Lamar.
Yeah, pretty much. Hey, if you can do it and have a great arm like that, do it.
Well, who are you taking here, though?
I have to look again because I'm looking at everything and I'm like, man, this is such a great matchup. How do you even pick one? But I picked Seattle, and it's because I feel like Seattle is they win these games. Russell Wilson wins these games, especially at home. Yeah. And I feel like Carson has shown me a lot of versatility this year, more than the years before. And I feel like we've heard that he can catch, and we've heard that he's going to get more work. but this year he's actually getting it. What you saw in New England on that offense, what they did to New England's defense, they are going to absolutely demolish this Dallas Cowboys defense.
Completely agree. Though, there's two things for me, and you know what one of them is. I'll let you guess while I say this one.
Go ahead.
The Dallas Cowboys lost to the Rams week 1, and they should have lost to the Falcons in week 2. They needed a miracle to pull that win out. I'm going with the better quarterback here in Russell Wilson.
Oh, I didn't know the other one.
The better coach.
Yeah. I was just going to say that.
Mike McCarthy, I don't know how you're a coach again.
Yeah.
Still making bad decisions.
Although the decision to go for the 2-point conversion on the first score rather than the second one was actually good move.
Maybe that was his call. That's probably why it worked so well.
So that
was metrics. You chalk that up to metrics.
Yeah, exactly. But you tip your hat for using
a little baby hat. All right, cool. Let's get into the Sunday night game. This is gonna be a fun game to watch.
This is a fun one, and it was a hard one for me to pick. This is Green Bay going to New Orleans to play the Saints after they had their Monday night game. So Green Bay's 2-0. New Orleans is 1-1. What's the line?
So this is the third highest over under 52.5, and they got the Saints favored by 3. Man, going into week 3, did we expect the Saints to be looking like they're looking right now?
No.
Can you say you expected better? And I get it. They're missing Michael Thomas, one of the best players, but man, they look lackluster right now.
Yeah. You like the way Kamara looked.
Yeah.
You do like the way he's looking. And Breeze is checking it down a lot. I think he's trusting him. Emmanuel Sanders, I don't think Breeze liked the fact that Manny didn't have his best game.
Yeah.
Because I don't think he threw it to him after the half.
Yeah, they barely got him the ball.
Yeah. That offense needs Michael Thomas.
Yeah, they need Michael Thomas and a younger Drew Brees.
They have Jameis Winston on the bench. I felt like Traquan Smith.
Would you be shocked if they benched Drew Brees? Yeah.
I'd be shocked.
Yeah, I think this is one of the years where it wouldn't be a bad thing if Drew Brees got hurt and they brought Jameis Winston in, because I feel like they got a better chance with him. I'm being bold and I'm saying that. Drew Brees' arm looks really, really weak, and I have numbers to back that up. Drew Brees has averaged 4.82 air yards on his passes so far this season. Not even 5 yards. Those are all these dump offs that he's going to Kamara, which he's been killing it. Kamara, he dumps it off for 5 yards, and Kamara takes it for 20. He's making him look a lot better than he really is. And Drew Brees is on a downside. He's been on it for the last couple of years with these injuries, and he's only fallen even more. Then this is why I picked who I picked in this game. You got anything else before we go into these picks?
Yeah. So on the New Orleans side, I am interested in seeing Traquan, how he looked, because he had a good game I wouldn't say last year or the year before. He had a really good game, and everyone thought it was like his breakout game, and he's disappeared since. I didn't see a home run game. I saw a complete wide receiver out there. He looked physical. He looked crisp. He looked like a really good receiver. If they can get Michael Thomas back, that's a good weapon for them to have. And going to your Drew Brees, I don't even think he sounds confident this year. He said something along the lines of like he feels fairly great or fairly, you know what I mean? Like it wasn't sounding completely 100%. It smells like Peyton Manning his last year.
Yep.
And I agree. That's bad if you're a Saints owner in any except for Kamara.
Yeah, no, he's getting the bulk of it. I'm gonna go right into my pick. I got Green Bay, only because I just feel like Aaron Rodgers is gonna make more plays. If Derek Carr can make more plays, I know Aaron Rodgers can make more plays.
I'm gonna go with this. I'm gonna go in New Orleans. I'm gonna stick with Drew Brees.
Do you still believe that home field advantage is a real thing this year?
I do in some respects.
And I'm not asking it just on this game. I'm asking it in general.
I believe because if you have a weak arm, it's better to play in a dome.
Yeah, I agree.
Right. So
they played in a dome last week.
Yeah, no, I mean you're gonna play in a closed stadium. Most of these new stadiums are closed anyway, right?
Yeah.
But I just feel like
He's gonna need a little wind behind that.
These are the clashes that
It's gonna be a good matchup. I'm not
so
expecting a blowout, but it should be a good one.
it will be a good one.
Sunday night, man.
Yeah, and I love the way Kamara looked. I like the running game. So maybe they lean on that a little bit more. Maybe keep Green Bay on the sideline. Because I can see New Orleans doing something like that. Taysom Hill, them going Taysom Hill, Murray, and Kamara, and just doing that the whole game, and trying to figure out if maybe keeping them off the Green Bay off the field is the formula to beating them.
Yeah, and another thing to look at is Aaron Jones. We know the Saints have a good run defense. Jacobs, which I think the Raiders could have done more of last week, was, and I know the Packers will do, is getting their running back involved in the passing game. You might not be able to run against the Saints, but you definitely could throw on them. And getting them involved, I was shocked that the Raiders weren't throwing the ball more to the running backs.
Well, I think they tried to set up a few screens, and they just couldn't get them off in time. It was too much disruption, but I saw a few times where they did try to get some screens.
In my opinion, I think the Raiders stopped themselves more. Like on that one touchdown where Josh Jacobs literally could have walked in and he lost the ball. And when your boy ran it in on that outside run where nobody touched him.
Oh, yeah. Richard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other players you want to highlight on maybe the Packers? We have Devontae Parker.
Devontae Adams, we'll see if he's healthy
Devontae Parker.
If he's healthy enough to play. Most signs looking like, they said he was good against the.
Sounded like a precaution.
Yeah, who they played last? Too many things in my head, but they held them out.
Detroit.
Yeah, because they were just beating them so badly. Cool. Let's jump into this Monday night game, man.
No, hold on. I didn't pick Green Bay though.
I know you told me you said you picked the Saints.
Yeah. Okay. Just making sure. Because I know it's not going to be a popular pick, or maybe it is, but. Let's go to this Monday night game because this is going to be probably one of the best football games you've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that it's on ESPN and it's going to be on prime time. What's the line on this one?
So right now we got 53.5 over under. That's the second most of the year, of the week of the year. And they got the Ravens favored by 3.
Kansas City and Baltimore, 2-0, 2-0. You got Andy Reid and Harbaugh. You have Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. You have Andrews and you have Kelsey. You know what I mean? You have Edwards Helhaire and you have the Ravens run defense, which is another team that hasn't allowed a rushing touchdown this year. You have any other players in your sights in this matchup?
I'm not looking at any specific players. I'm looking at a specific side of the ball, and it's the Ravens defense. I said it earlier with the Colts. The Ravens are one of the best defenses in the NFL. Might be the best defense they've ever had. And this is why I think they're way more of a Super Bowl contender this year.
Those some bold words, man.
Yeah, they're 5th best against quarterbacks when it comes to fantasy points, only allowing 15 points per game. They're 2nd best against running backs, only allowing 9 points. And why I'm picking my bus later on in the episode. And they're best against receivers, allowing only 13 points per game in non PPR. So the only way I see them getting beat is them trying to force feed Kelsey, but Mahomes is going to struggle a lot, just like he did against the Chargers. This is almost like the Chargers game all over again, except the Ravens have enough firepower to actually keep up.
They actually faced each other last year, and the only reason I'll bring up the past is because it happened 1 year ago. Lamar actually didn't have a passing touchdown in this one.
And they only lost by 5 points.
Very close game. Yeah. 33-20.
So imagine.
No passing touchdowns, 267 yards. That was good. No picks. And Patrick Mahomes actually had a good game, but this is one thing I want to note here. I have to put an asterisk here because this was in September before the Ravens made the move for Marcus Peters.
Yep.
So the team has been a lot different, and they have Calais Campbell, they have Queen.
Yep.
They just have gotten more talented. Expect maybe Mahomes' numbers to not be quite on the 3 touchdown, 374 yard level.
Yeah. I agree.
Lamar, maybe he takes a step up because Lamar now, it seems like he's a lot more comfortable passing from the pocket, and I think they're making more of an effort to make him a pocket passer.
Yeah.
A player to highlight here, and this could mean maybe this is good for Gus the Bus or whichever running back they choose to do this with. But Mark Ingram had a 16 carry day, 103-yard day, and 3 touchdowns.
That's why Lamar didn't have to throw the ball.
Exactly. And his longest was 21 yards. So that tells you that a lot of those might have come from inside the 10.
Yeah, so they're looking to run the ball and keep the Chiefs off the field. This is why I could see Mahomes having an average day, because the offense isn't just going to be on the field. They're gonna pull out that same formula that the Chargers did and try to keep them off the field and run the ball and milk clock.
Yeah, and
it's gonna be a fun game. It might be a little bit more boring than people expect it to be. I can see this game going under 53. That's a lot of points. We did mention that it was when they played last time. It was over 52. It was way over the points.
Yeah.
But again, I think it came. I don't remember the game how it ended, but it might have been going back and forth.
Yeah. So it started off in the second quarter. So Baltimore started off 6-0, and then Kansas City in the second quarter put up 23 points.
Yeah.
Third quarter 7-7, and then the fourth quarter Baltimore put up 15 points, but they lost 28-33. So if you don't put up those 15 points in the fourth, it's a different game, but still they did. But it's going to be, I feel like it's going to be a different game. They're going to play keep away a little bit better this year. That whole offense is leveled up and gotten better. You know, the same could be said for KC with CEH now being in the backfield, because Kansas City's running backs last year were Darrell Williams and LaShawn McCoy.
Yeah. How was Damian Williams last year against the Ravens? How was the run game?
He didn't play. It was Darrell Williams and LaShawn McCoy.
What did Darrell Williams do?
Darrell with 9 carries, 62 yards. That was really good. LaShawn McCoy, 8 carries, 54 yards. That was really good.
Yeah, I can see something like that from Helhaire this week. I'm expecting him to do a lot less than he normally did.
So you're saying their numbers combined, like 17 carries for 111 yards or 116 yards?
100 yards, and I don't think he's scoring against the Ravens. The Ravens they having a lot of rushing touchdowns, right? You said?
No, not this year.
Yeah. So.
Funny thing, McCoy got a rushing touchdown against them last year, which is funny as hell. In this game, we both have Baltimore. We both like the controlling the game plan that we feel Baltimore is going to bring to this.
Yeah, I'm just taking a better defense.
Yeah, the defense is so stout there in Baltimore, and I still don't think that they've hit their stride, which is the scary part. So yeah, we're gonna go with Baltimore here.
Cool. Let's jump into these studs and.
Yeah, so we like to leave you guys with a stud, a bust, and an under the radar player. Sorry.
Losing his voice here, guys. Just
Yeah.
talk for y'all.
So-
Drop a like if you're still watching this video.
Yeah,
Give us a
drop
thumbs
a
up.
like.
Drop a comment. Hashtag Juan's voice.
Hashtag quads. So we want to leave you with some studs. Well, one stud, one bust, and one under the radar player. Ryan, I'm gonna let you start it off.
I said it earlier. I'm gonna keep it short and sweet. Joshua Kelley and Ekeler. I'm expecting both of them to potentially be top 12 players this week in standard. I said earlier, the Panthers are allowing 36.5 points per game, 2 running backs. You split that in half, that's about 18 points. That's pretty good for a running back.
Yeah. So for my stud, I have Kyler Murray going up against Detroit. 5th most yards allowed, and Arizona has the 6th most yards on offense.
Yeah,
and top to top that, it's the run defense also that's equally as bad for Detroit. I can see Kyler also getting some yards on the ground. So
I love it. I can see him going over 100 yards this game rushing.
And he hasn't been far off the last 2 games. I think the first game he had 91
or something like that.
Wow. Yeah, so this could be a 100-yard game it could be 250 passing, 100 yards rushing for Kyler.
Yeah, Kyler's going to go off.
Yeah, so who's your bust?
So my bust this week, I mentioned it in the last game, is Clyde Edwards Helhaire, and I'm saying bust in terms of what his expectations are.
Yeah.
After this first week, everybody's expecting him to be a superstar, but we saw it on the surface. He struggled inside the red zone. Those goal line carries, I'm expecting to get under 10 fantasy points this week. In non PPR, the Ravens are allowing 9.1 points per game to running backs, so I can see it roughly being around there.
Yeah, that's going to be a struggle. For me, I have Joe Mixon, and I know that we discussed that matchup, but the one thing, I know that the Eagles have a good cornerback now, and it's a little bit harder to pass on them, but you can still pass on them. But the one thing that you still can't do on the Eagles is run.
Mm-hmm.
And if Joe Mixon contributes at all, I feel like most of those yards are going to come via the passing game.
I agree.
So Joe Mixon, I feel like he'll bust this week. Who's your under the radar player?
So I'm just trying to speak some things into existence here. I said it earlier. I'm going with Allen Robinson against the Atlanta Falcons. They have given up the fourth most points to wide receiver. I'm expecting at least 100 yards and a touchdown, and to finally bounce back and shut everybody up who's been saying that Mitchell Trubisky can't throw the ball. I see Miller. I see the tight ends. Everybody's going to be catching the ball against the Falcons.
Maybe even Mooney.
Yeah, that's the guy I was trying to think. Couldn't think of his name, so I just skipped.
My under the radar player is let me think. So I play on a team that literally wants to throw the ball even when I'm up. My team can't pick up an onside kick when it's laying in front of me. And my quarterback, he gave me 21 targets this year. I'm second on the team. I have 160 yards total, and I have a touchdown. And my number one receiver's banged up. The other guy, the second one, who's really a beast,
might be clamped up.
He's going to be going up against the number one corner. So where does that leave me? Russell Gage, you are flying under the radar.
Facts. I like that. That's a sneaky DFS play this week. And if you're struggling for wide receivers in regular leagues, that might be somebody you can plug in.
We got through these picks. If you agree, disagree, let's talk about it down in the comment section below. First, on your way down, hit the like button, hit subscribe, and hit the bell so you can get the notification we drop a new episode. If you're on a podcast platform right now, make sure that you subscribe, you drop a like, or even hit a review, because that's how we know what we can work on or what you actually like from the show. If you have any feedback, make sure you get to us on the Fantasy Standard TFS at gmail.com. That's the Fantasy Standard TFS at gmail.com. Ryan, you got anything else?
Nah, man. Our Instagram handles are below. If you have any questions, reach out to us. Let us know who your studs, busts, and under the radars are below as well in the comments with your picks as well. We look forward to seeing those. And like I said, if you are right, we might shout you out on the next episode, man. And look forward to watching these games this weekend, and we'll catch y'all next week. Peace out.